Violet Jessop, A Survivor's Tale. In the year 1898, a man named Morgan Robertson wrote a story about a ship called the Titan. In his story, the ship sank from an iceberg collision in the mid-Atlantic in April. Most of the people on board died from lack of lifeboats. It was published 14 years before the real ship, the Titanic, launched, and it sank in the same way, in the same month, and in the same place as the Titan. The mighty Titanic, the world's first unsinkable ship, sank on April 15, 1912. 2,223 people boarded the Titanic. 1,517 of those people never set foot on land again. Several factors contributed to the Titanic's demise. The ship's build, while equipped with all the latest technology, did not prepare it for the major iceberg damage. The ship's designers called the deck too cluttered, and only provided enough lifeboats for a fraction of its passengers. The captain was pushed by several investors to speed up, arrive in port a night early, and make the morning papers. They did, in fact, make the papers, but for a completely different reason. Only 713 of the passengers escaped an icy fate in the limited lifeboats. The few survivors had stories to tell.
I am one of those survivors. My name is Violet Jessop, and I have a unique story. I was born in Argentina in 1887 to Irish immigrant parents. When my father died, I travelled to England with my mother and 5 siblings to attend convent school. My mother soon got sick, and I began working on ocean liners to help support my family. Time flies when you are busy. I certainly was busy on the RMS Olympic, a White Star superliner ship. I did not spend much time on the ship, but before I left it to join the crew of the RMS Titanic, the Olympic collided with a smaller vessel, the HMS Hawk, and suffered damage, but not nearly as much damage as the poor Hawk. I boarded the Titanic as a stewardess. I enjoyed living in its lower decks and assisting all the wealthy passengers. One night, we heard a crash, and we were told to board the lifeboat. As I was a woman, I was given a seat, and as we descended, a crewman above me yelled, "Look after this, will ya?" and threw me a small child. I was told to assist the other passengers and keep everyone calm. My job became more difficult, as a few lifeboats sailed away from the massive vessel that shocked us all when it sank before our very eyes. A few years later, I was aboard Titanic's other sister ship, the HMHS Brittanic, which was converted into a hospital ship during World War I. Unbelievably, we struck a mine. We got into the lifeboats faster than we had in the Titanic, but the huge propellers were churning everything left in the water. We were getting sucked into the water, so I jumped. I sunk under the waves and heard a huge crash above me and felt something smash into the top of my head. I was choking and gurgling into water, and I couldn't breathe. I don't know what came over me, but a short while later I rose to the surface and could finally breathe in the air. The ship in front of me plummeted into the depths, but somehow, for a third time, I survived.
Miss Violet Jessop went on to live a long and happy life, and even wrote a memoir about her experiences on the 3 sister ships. Not everyone was so lucky, however. If it were not for the loss of the Olympic, Titanic, and Brittanic, well over 1,500 people would have survived. 1,517 people would have successfully visited or emigrated to America. How would Pennsylvania have fared if Milton Hershey or Pittsburgh steel baron Henry Clay Frick had been on board, as they had both originally planned? And how can we prevent such a tragedy in the future? In the case of these 3 ships, history cannot repeat itself.